Hello everyone, I'm back with another book chat for kids in grades 4 through 6. I'd like to talk about Chris Grabenstein's latest, The Smartest Kid in the Universe. It's the first book in a planned series. It's a very funny, highly imaginative story of a 12-year-old boy. His name is Jake McQuaid. He's in 7th grade and he's smart, but you know what? The main reason he likes to go to school is to hang out with his friend, his best friend, Kojo, and to see the girl that he likes. Her name is Grace Garcia. So the main plot line centers around Jake, who goes to a conference with his mom, a work conference, and there's a bowl of jelly beans on a table, and he eats the entire bowl of jelly beans. They're not regular jelly beans. They were developed by a scientist who works for the same company as his mom, and they're called ingestible knowledge pills. And when the scientist finds out that Jake ate the entire bowl, he explains to him that they are meant to be eaten one pill at a time, one jelly bean at a time, so that you can gather some knowledge, master a subject, and then move on to another subject by taking another pill or eating another jelly bean. So things get hysterical at this point when the scientist realizes that he's eaten the whole bowl. He starts to track every move that Jake makes. He's studying him. These pills were never really researched, so Jake becomes the guinea pig in how they're going to find out whether these jelly beans, exactly how they work. So there's there's lots of funny parts, but just to show you how it happens with Jake, he's on a bus and a family gets on and they're speaking Swahili. And all of a sudden, Jake can speak Swahili to them. So it's just, he has no idea at first, of course, how he's getting all this knowledge. But the many things that he goes through and how Chris Grabenstein sets up the humorous parts in this book are just fabulous. So, as in all good books, there's quite a few plot lines going on at once, and there's another one that when I read the first chapter, I'm going to include the prologue. So there's a prologue, something that happened hundreds of years before that sets you up for a mystery that occurs in this book. Grace Garcia, the girl that he likes, is a direct descendant of a boy who was abducted by pirates. And the principal of the school is a direct descendant of one of the pirates. So Patricia Malvolio, the principal of the school, is determined to get the buried treasure that she thinks her ancestor buried there. And Grace Garcia is trying to figure out how her ancestor plays into all this. It's so easy to read. The funny parts are hysterical. It goes very fast. I liked the mystery part of it. There's never a dull moment. And I would recommend this book. Of course, never mind if you're a Chris Grabenstein fan. All of the Mr. Lemoncello library books, Max Einstein. If you like the books that he co-authored with James Patterson, The Treasure Hunters and the House of Robots and the iFunny books, you're going to love this. But also, if you're a fan of Stuart Gibbs' Spy School series, there were parts of this that reminded me of those books, especially the humor. I think if you like Dan Gutman and even Louis Sacker, who wrote Holes, I think you will really enjoy this. The best part is that it's open-ended, so it sets you up for the next adventure, which is coming in November 2021, and it's going to be called The Smartest Kid in the Universe Genius Camp. The other part of this book that I really did like was the fact that all these characters came together. Sometimes when you're reading a book, the characters that are introduced, they just relate to the main character. But in this book, they all relate to each other in a historical way. It's really very interesting. So let's go ahead and read the first chapter. I'm going to include the prologue, which explains who the pirate and the abducted boy that I told you are related to two of the main characters. It explains exactly what happened with them. So this is the prologue. Eduardo Leonis wasn't the bravest pirate on Capitan Aliento de Perro's crew, but he was definitely the smartest, because he was the only one not on the sinking ship. Cannons boomed, masts snapped, the sky was on fire, and Eduardo was safe in a bobbing rowboat well below the fray. "Yar!" cried Aliento de Perro, leaning over the railing and working a line to lower a heavy iron chest. "Row up river, ye scurvy knave! Find a good hiding place for me booty, then hurry back to tell me where it be, or you'll end up like your cowardly father." Si, Capitan, the clever Eduardo shouted back, even though he planned to obey only the first half of that order, because the treasure wasn't the captain's. Aliento de Perro had stolen it from Eduardo's father. El Perro Apestoso, the stinky dog, the ship that the blustering pirate Aliento de Perro, Dog Breath, now commanded, had been seized in an ugly mutiny from Eduardo's father, the brave buccaneer, Angel Vengador Leonis. After forcing the ship's captain to walk the plank, Aliento de Perro had kept young Eduardo alive only so he could torment the boy. Now the ship that had plundered and pillaged up and down the east coast of the American colonies was sinking under the relentless attack of a British man-of-war that had chased it upriver. As a precaution, Dog Breath, who never brushed his teeth, had ordered his cabin boy to haul the ship's treasure to a less treacherous location. Eduardo grinned as he lashed the heavy chest to the deck of his small vessel, and then he started rowing hard north. The listing pirate ship turned about to block the man-of-war's pursuit with a broadside of cannon blasts. The British ship roared back with mast-shattering, wood-splintering, sail-searing shots of its own. The stinky dog might not be afloat when young Eduardo found a secure spot to hide his captain's treasure, which was fine by Eduardo. He had cleverly tricked Aliento de Perro into thinking he was too terrified to ever plot revenge. But he would avenge his father's death. All that treasure would become his, and his children's, and his children's children's, and his children's children's children's, and his children's 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 children. If only they would prove bold and clever enough to find it. Okay, that's the prologue. Here's chapter 1. It's only 2 pages. Patricia Malvolio, the new principal of Riverview Middle School, was giving a special after-hours tour of her building to a very important guest, Mr. Heath Huxley. "This school is in terrible condition," said Mr. Huxley. "I know," giggled Mrs. Malvolio. "Isn't it marvelous? It's perfect for our plans. The lockers were dented and rusty. Overhead, fluorescent lights sputtered in their tubes, pleading to be replaced. Paint peeled off the cinder block walls in chunks the size of potato chips. "What's that smell?" said Mr. Huxley, covering his mouth and nose with a dainty silk handkerchief. Mrs. Malvolio sniffed the air. She was tempted to say, "Your breath," since Mr. Huxley's never smelled minty or fresh. "Tuna fish salad," she suggested. "Stinky cheese? Moldy pizza?" It's hard to tell. The refrigerators in the cafeteria are unreliable. Mrs. Malvolio tugged down on the canary yellow blazer that matched her canary yellow blouse. The tugging caused her necklace, 3 rows of big multicolored beads, to clack. "Now, as I told you," she said, "Riverview is currently considered the worst middle school building in the district. Given the new budget cuts, the city will be forced to close 1 middle school this year. I suspect it will be us." She led the way into her office. Mr. Huxley went to the window to admire the view of the river. "This is magnificent, Patricia." "I know. It's why this school is called Riverview." "And what will the city do with this marvelous property once they shut down this dilapidated excuse for a school?" "Oh, I suppose they might auction off the land to the highest bidder." "Who will also be the smartest bidder," said Mr. Huxley, stroking back his slick black hair. "The one who understands how truly valuable this property is." "Yes, Uncle Heath," said Mrs. Malvolio. "They'll probably sell it to you, and then you'll pay me that very generous finder's fee we discussed when I applied for this principal's position." "Indeed I will, Patricia." They both laughed maniacally. It ran in the family. If you think you'll like that, put it on reserve, or at least put it on your books to be read list, or come in and get it. We have a copy and it's here. Have a great weekend, everyone.